Hello and welcome to Perspectives. Bilateralism, tonight's topic, and not suggested by me, suggested by one of the guests. And I immediately looked up what the word bilateralism means. And it is a relationship between two sovereign states which accept each other as sovereign states. And then they establish diplomatic relations, trade relations, economic relations, and relations of decency. India and Pakistan have a fantastic history of having worked together and having worked against each other. When I say working together, I would be referring to anything before 1947, where this unified region, the subcontinent, worked for its freedom. And the moment we were near freedom, something went wrong and we turned against each other. And to date, we're working against each other. Highly unfortunate. Many a government has come and gone. Many a discussion has happened. Some mature, some not very mature. Media for the past 3 days has been really going haywire, saying that the Prime Minister, Mir Nawaz Sharif, has handled this very poorly. And when the Indian counterpart or the Indian dignitaries or the delegates were not very receptive, were not very nice, or were aggressive, we should have preempted and been equally aggressive, or maybe handled it differently. My personal perspective, and pardon the pun for the name of the show, my apology, but my personal perspective is when you know you're guilty, you behave a certain way. And when you know you're not guilty, and when you know you are mature, when you know you are better, you behave that way. And I think Pakistan's Prime Minister has behaved that way, where he has shown that he's the better one. And he will not let the situation get the better of him. Unfortunately, the Indians have not behaved that way. I have seen debates between the two countries, the journalists, the armed forces representatives, and going very ballistic, if I may say, on both sides. Very disappointing. After all these years, I think we need to understand that this is about bilateralism. We are two sovereign states. Inshallah, we can stay that way. What's the bickering about? We need to finally grow up and sort this out. My tonight's panel, a very distinguished panel for international relations. The idea is to understand how we will go forward and solve this problem, because the next generation is definitely very tired of this whole argument. In my short and brief media career, I've done about 25 shows on this subject. Nothing changes. We'll keep going back over and over like a broken record. My guests on my far right, Ms. Sabeen Agha, who's also a journalist, and I just founded a student of international relations, and thank you very much for being here. Time out. Distinguished, it's an honor, my dear friend, Mr. Nusrat Mirza, journalist, also an expert in international relations. Nusrat, thank you very much. On my left, another friend is Khalida Ghous, who is, again, an expert in international relations. Thank you very much for being here. And last but not the least, Mr. Abid Rao, AVM retired Abid Rao, which I thank you for taking time out being here. It was general consensus, you being the youngest will open the forum and the discussion. How do you see where we are? And what is your vision of how we're going to sort this region out? Because India-Pakistan relations don't end at India-Pakistan. They dismantle, disassemble, and destabilize the whole region.
Well, as far as Pakistan and India are concerned, since the day we were born, we have been seeing that both the countries are always at loggerheads with each other. There have been up in the relationships, there have been down in the relationship. But at the moment, for the past many years, we've seen that both countries have put all the main issues, including the core issue of Kashmir, at the backtrack and focusing only on one particular issue, and that is the issue of terrorism. As far as the recent visit of the Prime Minister of Pakistan and to the United States of America and their meeting is concerned, I'm sorry, unfortunately, if you ask me, my opinion, I don't see any headway going on in the next many years or so. I was watching this program on a private TV channel, and there Mr. Zafar Hilali made a very good point, and he said that you need to first of all understand that there is a need of dialogue, discussion, and we need to move forward and discuss all the main issues that are the bone of contention between both countries. If we are just going to be stuck up with only one issue, that is the issue of terrorism, unfortunately, India has not been very receptive as far as Pakistan is concerned. Pakistan has always addressed all issues, including this one particular issue on which the India is stuck up. And for instance, when the Mumbai incidents happened, or any other incident from Jhota Express, or any other incident that happens in India, they are the first one to blame upon, without any investigation, immediately blame it on the military establishment and the ISI and the state of Pakistan. And this time around, they have also said on the platform of the United Nations that there is state-sponsored terrorism that is happening from Pakistan. But where is give us the evidence? I remember when the Mumbai incidents happened in 2009, the head of Interpol came to Pakistan and did this. I'm sure my colleagues, my senior colleagues, they do remember that when the head of the Interpol came down here and did a press conference with Mr. Rahman Malik, who was the interior minister at that point in time. He did say that India has not given a very convincing evidence as far as the terrorism, or what they blame Pakistan of for the terrorism, has not given any evidence whatsoever. So Pakistan has always tried hard, made an effort, be it any government. We've tried to have good relationships with all kinds of governments. We tried to have it with Vajpayee. Pakistan has always gone there. The president, the prime minister has always gone there for visit. But have we seen in the past 5 or 7 years anyone coming from India to Pakistan?
Abid, if I touch upon the point of terrorism, which, as Sabeen just mentioned, that Kashmir is on the backtrack, and I think they raise an issue which is an open debate to just distract the whole real discussion that needs to happen. Now, my point, just sheer logic, if theoretically Pakistan is state sponsoring terrorism in India, then by that logic, the amount of terrorism happening in Pakistan is about 100-fold. So then it's safe assumption that that is sponsored by India?
You see,
by sheer logic?
If you were to put an allegation... I'm suggesting that. You see, Pakistan and India have had such relationship that none of these two countries have, missed an opportunity to exploit a bad situation. We also have a lot of, things to explain. The Sikh movement was sponsored by Pakistan. They were armed by Pakistan. And they were crushed, they were, handled militarily by Indira Gandhi. So that died. They did that in 71 in India, in East Pakistan, now Bangladesh. In international relations, these things are doable, morally correct, because when you exploit your enemy's weakness, you are not at fault. Okay. Now, after 89, when the Russians withdrew, these Mujahideen were kept by people like Hamid Guls and Aslam Begs for their employment as an part of the army against India. That is also a reality. Now, 25 years have passed. Pakistan also needs to review what is your strategy, because the differential of power between the two countries is growing. As far as Kashmir is concerned, in Mr. Nawaz Sharif's speech, there was a big departure from our previous stance. He referred to 1948 resolution on Kashmir, which talks of plebiscite, which talks of, UN coming in and doing all the things. 72, we have signed similar agreement, which only talks of bilateral, mention of the solution of Kashmir. Things have moved much ahead of that. Between 1972 and now, in these 41 years, India is not willing to talk to you in Kashmir. And morally, you will find that just because they enjoy that power potential, why should they give Kashmir to you under any condition? So, in my personal opinion, you may not agree. The only solution to Kashmir is either you gain so much of strength that because of then you can twist their arm under coercion. You should take Kashmir or get 48 resolution implemented. Why does India always, spoil a situation when things seem to be improving? Because they don't want that even in courtesy, Pakistan's Prime Minister, President should tell them, okay, now let's talk about Kashmir and do something. No.
Just want to keep them completely.
They want to keep things so bad that you don't talk of that.
You can't even bring that up.
Otherwise, now, I have all my arguments against this kind of dialogue, meaningless dialogue. That let's keep the dialogue open, let the foreign secretaries meet, let the defense people meet, let the Prime Minister meet.
No, isn't that the need for diplomacy? Even if it's just eyewash.
Because the strength of the chain, they say, lies in the weakest link. Your relations from excellent go to the worst possible time on one incident. If you just see only this year, January, they made an allegation on Pakistan Army that we beheaded one of their soldiers. They gave no evidence. They closed the coffin box, cremated him. Didn't even show him to the family or any other evidence.
Sure.
Then Sarabjit's case, they played up on their media so much, knowing that he was a terrorist, knowing that he was a spy, knowing that 91 our court had sentenced him.
And the whole LOC violation
then they took a revenge from one of our prisoners. And yet, they were making noise. It is not because they are very unreasonable. It is because they think they are more powerful people than us.
And also the media, I think the media plays a very strong role.
In international relations, the power differential is the most commonly used tool of the policy.
So do you agree with that? And also, I would like to raise the point that their media is a phenomenal engine of propaganda. And you see the shows, and they just go ballistic trying to hammer the LOC dispute. So,
that is very true. We have seen yesterday and day before yesterday, our friends were talking and they were so much bashing. It was unbelievable. And there must be, that was wrong. The house, media house has done this kind of activity should consider that first of all, before starting this kind of conversation between the two groups of the Indian and Pakistani intellectuals or the air marshals or marshals or generals, they must lay down some principles, some rules and regulations how they will behave, because the anchor that side was so aggressive and lavishly talking. That should not be allowed.
Are like that.
No, that was very bad, unacceptable.
No, but you haven't.
Let me say.
What Arnab does.
No. He was very polite man. Sure. The man was very polite, and he was not capable of doing this kind, handling this kind of activity.
No, I'm talking about Arnab Goswami.
No, the other side, other thing, which I want to, what you have asked question since 1947. And we are under fear that we India did not accepted us as a separate entity, as a separate country. We are trying since 1947 to develop good relation with India by giving some concession as well, but as soon as you remember that 1971, we were separated.
Sure.
East Pakistan was taken away. Now nobody can deny that there was the hand, the Indian hand, and the Russian hand, the American hand, even. And even there is a book which says that the general who was there He says that we have embedded our one unit there, and in the name of Pakistan Army, and that was doing atrocities to the Bengali Muslim, and with the name of that, the Pakistanis are doing. Pakistan Army is doing that. Now, what I'm saying that then after in 1971, then comes 1974. No. There is one very important point I would like to raise. 1974, they have become the nuclear.
True.
Then we became the nuclear in 1983, and then it was declared in 1998. Okay, we were happy, they were happy, okay, nobody can attack each other. Then they developed another thing to subdue us, that cold start doctrine. That means all the, and that should be now the end of, because neither we can attack you, nor you can attack us. That was sufficient if you were you want to live in peace.
But they
they went further to how to suppress or oppress Pakistan in one way. They have developed a cold start doctrine, meaning thereby that from 8 places they will enter with full might what they have, with the air force, with the tank, with the all kind of striking force, mechanized force, and 8 places. Now, Pakistan in return developed the tactical warheads, tactical nuclear warheads, and then also a small range missiles. Then, meaning, what I want to say is that India is not stopping its activity or not convinced that Pakistan would like to live as peacefully, and that is why it is one way or the other way, and the hegemony style of activity he is doing.
Well,
she is doing.
And this very point I'd like to come, because you suggested the topic bilateralism, and I just want to acknowledge that. Now, Nusrat is very well said. They don't want to understand that we want to live peacefully and we want to move on with life. Is there bilateralism on that side? Where do they even begin to accept us as a sovereign state, and a state which is not really a state they can chew and throw, but we are a reasonably strong state, maybe not as strong as them. Economically, maybe we're not. We have a lot to catch up. Militarily, maybe we may have, some weaknesses, but we're not a state which can be completely disregarded. Alhamdulillah.
And there is a non-traditional way of looking at it that we try to understand. Is there a possibility of having the bilateralism between India and Pakistan, and how viable that bilateralism can be without actually pursuing the peace process? So there's an element of bilateralism which focuses on socio-economic political relations, but in my view it is heavily dependent on the peace process. If the peace process makes progress, then you would reach a point where the two countries would be in a position to say that yes, it's not out of the need alone, but it is out of the desire that we would like to build bilateralism as two sovereign countries. So this is one thing.
I want to raise a question with you. Elaborate on the peace process. That's a word so commonly. What would be the peace process that would reach that point?
That's a wonderful question. And within the peace process, there are two words. Peace is one element of it, and the process indicates something else. When we would try to understand peace, we have to look what is the narrative which is actually guiding the peace forward as such. But when we try to look into the process, the element of process within it, then we would try to understand as to which framework has been identified by the two countries and how they would like to actually take it forward and ensure that the peace is built. So that is one thing which is very, very crucial. But nonetheless, what I'm saying is that, of course, in the recent times, we have heard people talking about, for example, in the Musharraf era, there was lots of talk about the out-of-box solutions, which meant that not mentioning in the same tone Kashmir, Sir Creek, Siachen, water, and non-traditional issues also came into it. In this government,
We have seen a greater focus on the economic relations, on trade, on finance, and lesser on the peace process as such. But nonetheless, the peace process is not there, because one thing that I would like to point out is that Indians once again have insisted that the framework should undergo a change, and now usually it is referred as the dialogue process. So they are gradually narrowing down the issues which would be discussed between the two countries, and narrowing it down in a manner where terrorism predominantly would be an issue that they would like Pakistan and India to discuss.
Everything else.
Yes, to overshadow. So it's a very complex relationship, and if we are serious in taking it forward, and if Indians are serious in actually building that kind of a viable relationship with Pakistan, then they would have to understand that there are moments when sensitivities are there, and there are times when the needs are there that the two countries must try to forge closer relations, and that enemy perception has to be gradually worked upon and sort of taken it out.
Can you take a short break? When I come back, I'd like to talk about something. You talk about, Indians. You talk about, as long as we've been around, we've seen the two countries. I've always heard people saying that, the people are alike, and, we feel friendly. It's just the governments or a few people. You've been to India recently. We all have relationships with, in the day of the internet, of course, there's a lot of conversations. My question when we come back from the break is it really just the two governments arguing? Can we as people actually come together? Maybe if not today, as you say, there's no hope today, but maybe in 15 years, maybe in 20 years, is there a possibility of us becoming amicable ever? Because my experience with Singapore, Malaysia, which is a pretty much similar situation, Malaysia, Singapore, Taiwan, mainland China, I don't think these countries will ever find peace within the people. You go to Malaysia, you've got T-shirts which cuss and swear at Singapore. You go to Singapore, you've got T-shirts with anti-Malaysian words. They may be doing trade and everything, but deep down, the undercurrent is very turbulent. So my question, do we as people want to really be peaceful now? Let's take a short break. Thank you for staying with us. You're watching Perspectives. We have online from the USA, Mr. Najmuddin Sheikh, a foreign diplomat. Sheikh Saab, Assalamu alaikum. Can you hear me?
Well, I can hear you.
Sheikh Saab, the topic obviously is the discussion about India and Pakistan's bilateral relations. How do you see the way things have panned out, and do you feel that there...
You're right that this meeting took place, and that it took place at a time when there was quite obviously a degree of strain in Delhi with regard to the latest incident in Indian held Kashmir, following upon the incident in August. I think the very fact that the meeting was held is a reason for hope. I'm not suggesting that it needs that there has been forward movement, but let us say that it has not been allowed to slide backwards to the extent that it could possibly have happened. Is there prospect for something better in the future? I think at the moment we will probably continue to be in a holding pattern until the elections are held in India, and until our own program for what we wish to do internally to set our house in order with regard to terrorism, etc., until there is a movement on that particular front. I think that we will continue to be in a holding pattern. I would like to see advances on issues such as which are easily resolvable, such as Sip Creek and Siachen. But frankly, I don't think that is likely to happen until we emerge from this holding pattern. How long that is going to take, is perhaps partly dependent on what the election prospects appear to be in India, and partly on what we do within Pakistan itself.
The cynic in me would say that, you know, we've had this up and down so many times that this is no different. In the past, we've made positive gestures of diplomacy, of positivity, and the response has been absolutely negative, either from their leadership or the media. Their media would jump in and make sure that any possibility of any movement forward is distracted immediately. Do you not see this incident pretty much the same, that we are making positive gestures, but it's not really very receptive from their end, and bringing terrorism as the epitome of the discussions sort of sidelines any other issues which we have forever, and they are credible issues.
Well, I think we should recognize that what I'm trying to suggest is that it's not something that we want to look forward to.
Sure.
But for the moment, we will continue to be in a holding pattern. We will not see advances. That is the how it is going to pan out. And for this, I think two things are responsible. The Indian media, of course, tends to highlight what the government is highlighting too. I mean, Prime Minister Manmohan Singh's statement that Pakistan continues to be the epicenter of terrorism in the region, and that India is a victim of that particular phenomena is something that resonates in the Indian media and is obviously played up on a higher note in India. But we have to accept that that is the situation, and we have to see how movement forward takes place. We've got a holding pattern also, even on an issue on which the Indians were hopeful that we would be moving forward more faster. I don't think that we are moving, and I don't think that this is particularly the time at which we should move forward on the trade issues until our particular concerns with regard to the trade issues have also been addressed.
Well,
so I think we should be recognized that while this is a relationship of primary importance, it is also a relationship which for the moment will remain somewhat stalemated.
Well said. Mr. Saab, I'd like to come to you with one question. Everyone's saying it's a great the fact that they have met, given the situation. We've said this so many times before. Is there something happening which we do not see and which is of greater importance and value?
In my opinion, this was a show arranged by the Americans. Both sides knew that they are going to meet. That is why Nawaz Sharif has said something funny or sarcastically about Manmohan Singh. He would have not said had he knew that this meeting was is happening or not happening, or it may be in jeopardized if he will say something wrong against the Indian Prime Minister. But he said that, and the meeting held itself. It was under the supervision and the facilitated by the United States of America. But if you remember, there are two important things has happened. One, there was a meeting between the Indian Prime Minister and the President of United States of America. They have agreed on the trade agreement of the atomic reactor.
Sure.
One very important thing, and that relationship, as they say, that they have gone from sale and buy to the transfer of technology. Second thing, what they say that their relation between them has matured. This word mature has been said by the Foreign Secretary of India. Her name is Sujata, and she said that in a briefing before this meeting 1 week before, and the visit of the Ashton Carter, the U.S. Deputy Secretary of State, he has said that We have moved from sale and buyer and seller to transfer of technology. These are the two. The second thing, more than this, was the difference between, now they are looking for a role in the Afghanistan. That was more important. That is why this the meeting between Nawaz Sharif and the President of United States of America was deferred, and they are going to meet on 23rd of April, when 23rd of October, when there will be a security pact signed by the America and Afghanistan, or will be signed after that, in which Afghanistan says that America should provide the security against Pakistan. These are the words they want.
Sabeen?
I just wanted to make two points. One point is that when Nusrat Saab says that it was basically the Americans who actually wanted this and they actually ran the show, I think he's absolutely right. I would agree with him 100%, in fact 200%, because see, in both Pakistan and India, there are quite a high amount of anti-American sentiments. So this meeting was basically something which, in my personal opinion, you might agree with it or not, it is basically one gesture from the United States of America that see how serious we are in, bringing these two countries in the same region together. One they call their natural ally, and one the strategic partner. So this is one point that I wanted to make. And another point was about, this media hype about all the meeting between the Indian Prime Minister and the Pakistani Prime Minister. It's basically, we didn't actually see any objective news coming out of it, or something which was worthwhile to discuss. It is basically your expectation, my expectation, Khalida Sahiba's expectations, or Rao Saab's expectations that made the news. These were basically the wishes and expectations of people like us that made the news.
Nothing else. My question, is there hope within the people themselves for us to ever come together, or is this a futile exercise and maybe we should just accept the fact this is how we're going to be?
Well, if you'll ask me very frankly, of course, the entire process of having some more than a dozen CBMs, that is the confidence building measures, the main purpose was actually to build that that type of a constituency at the society level, which supports the peace process. And it aimed to create and generate that kind of an environment which would help and facilitate. See, the point is, some of them have been successful, some of them no. But the point is, to answer your question, the peace constituency in Pakistan is more strong. We have been able to consolidate in a better manner. We did not see the kind of the hype on the electronic media which one sees on the Indian television channels. We did not see a demand of Indian movies being taken off the theaters as it happens over there. We did not see any exhibition being made a target or being targeted as it recently happened in the case of India. But yes, the peace constituency in India has not, it's not that strong. And they do, in some ways, let me also give some credit. I think that media, may it be electronic or the print media, it is more free. When you tend to look, and when you watch the television from the Indian side, you see the people following and towing the lines given to them or otherwise on their own. I have no way of confirming that. But they actually took the line which is given to them by the government. So it's the official line which they take it forward on the national security issues, on the foreign policy issues. So one thing is, this is definitely there. But yes, the peace constituency is there. We do not see people saying that we shouldn't be moving forward. But in the case of India, it's the other way around.
Some
They
very
have gone, and may I
aggressive and
add,
violent statements.
may I add,
Please.
not only I mean, they at times, I was there on for a track 2 meeting, but it's the threatening posture which they have.
There you go.
So that threatening posture, there you make conditional that if one more and we are not going to restrain ourselves. So I think somewhere the peace constituency in India and the people who are responsible, they need to come out of their positions and wherever they are sitting and see to it that sanity prevails at the civil society level.
This is the position.
You see, I mean, I'll agree with her that in last, say, 4 to 5 years, Indians have exhibited an unwarranted arrogance at all levels, whether military, diplomatic, or people-to-people contact. And referring to your first question, yes, people want peace. I mean, look at the keenness.
We may want peace, but are we willing to accept each other?
No,
accept each other.
Let me explain to you one
No, sorry, I'll just
point.
explain.
Just refer you.
Absolutely. I mean, look at the way Pakistan-India cricket team is washed there. Look at the way your artists, Nusrat Fateh Ali, that Rahat Fateh Ali, Shafqat Amanat Ali, and even Ali Zafar, you know, because that means more business to them, because these people contribute positively towards their economy as well.
Advantage.
Okay, they take advantage. So now India has come into that kind of state of mind where they think that they can ignore Pakistan, bully Pakistan, or, you know, reject Pakistan at any level.
Sure.
But one thing I'm very confident about, and I will substantiate if you ask for, India will dare not attack Pakistan. They will keep threatening you of this attack, cold, start doctrine, precision attack and surgical strikes and all that, and the right of hot pursuit, which is internationally accepted kind of a thing. Because they are trying to project to Pakistan the treatment what America, exposes weaker countries to. I mean, look at the drone attack. Can India launch a drone attack? But then we have to see how do you put your house in order. I mean, I will just refer to one little incident. When things are so hot on both sides, why should our media bring Hafiz Saeed? Does he hold a national leader stature that you want to bring him on Pak-India relationship? Okay. Why are you showing his,
But the same thing was discussed on the media between Hafiz Saeed was never elected, but Narendra Modi was elected, and he was the Prime Minister of Gujarat.
I agree with you. Political culture there,
lot of difference.
Campaign on Pakistan bashing.
This
time around the election.
This is the politicking. Sheikh Saab, any closing comments from you, sir? Sheikh Saab, can you hear me? We may have lost his line. Closing comments. I'm short on time, but I would also like to hear what you just said. It's electioneering from them, but where's it going?
It's not going anywhere. I mean, how can you run your election campaign on bashing a neighboring country? On one hand, you're trying to meet them. You're trying to have a peace process with them, so-called peace process with them, and then we never did this. I mean, we have our issues, internal issues. They had so many internal issues.
I mean, that's my point. If electioneering can run on bashing Pakistan, which means that it's a popular sentiment within the people. It will win them votes.
Yes. When you were just saying that very very quickly and briefly. You asked that is there a possibility of people going there? Maybe high profile people like the singers and the actors, but not the common, because it's the elected representatives and the leadership who's running the show, who's going to give us the visas.
But this electioneering does get them votes, so it's a popular topic.
Yeah.
I would like to add what Air Marshal was saying. Dr. Mubashir Hassan was for us very lenient person, very pro-Indian. We were considering him. At the meeting at Kolkata, they say, at the meeting in Kolkata, he was mentioning the point of view of Pakistan, and in which the audience were saying to him that, okay, Kashmir is our integral part. Then he said, okay, then if this is the case, we will then stop this track to diplomacy, because you don't want to hear anything, anything reasonable,
And
sensible.
this is the audience.
This is the audience. And then a man like Dr. Mubashir Hassan, for which we have the opinion that he is pro-India, for we were thinking he is too lenient, he is too inclined towards India. He was so annoyed with the audience at Kolkata that he said these words.
See, what Narendra Modi says, to hell with it, it doesn't bother me. See, the point is, there are people within India who has been criticizing him.
Sure.
I came from there. So their own people are very critical about it. Yeah, they are very critical about it. My concern is vis-a-vis the bilateralism between the two countries and the relationship between India and Pakistan. And what worries me is, and this I say with utmost responsibility, that the element of trust deficit continues to be there, despite the fact that for the last 10 years, the peace process has been there. How irregular or regular it was, leave that apart. CBMs were there, how productive and viable or otherwise they were, leave that apart. But the point is that the trust deficit is still there, and until and unless we, India and Pakistan, are unable to detect what causes this trust deficit, what is feeding into it, how it can be addressed,
Very quickly.
CBMs alone have not been able
between
to.
the governments, a trust deficit between the people.
I think it's the people also, the people who.
I mean, we are the people sitting here. We're not the government.
No, but here I'm talking about the people who have the influence, who have the.
One thing I would like to add.
One thing. I'm talking about the people who have the capacity of influencing the policy making.
Fine.
That level.
This lack of trust or trust deficit is their requirement, because
Elaborate.
I have read some of their very senior people saying that they need an enemy like Pakistan to keep India united. At political level, they need that kind of an enemy. We don't. So our people have reconciled. Our leadership, in one of your programs I said, they're all post-1947 born. They have their leaders 95 years old, 90 years old, Advani and Jaswant and Manmohan.
Old grudges and old ideologies.
They carry the partition era fresh in their mind. They haven't forgotten. They haven't gotten over that. Second thing, until you have a leadership from South India coming in power, things will not change. This North Indian leadership will continue. Nehru was so close to this.
It will never happen because they can.
Anyway,
finance minister,
but may never happen.
Economic minister. They will not be prime minister.
Must we open new topics as we end?
We have to follow an incremental approach. That kind of a sort of expectation that we would quickly be able to cover the distance, I think it's wrong. It has to be an incremental approach.
Grievance that deep is not going to go away. Thank you very much, all of you, taking time out being here. I have really nothing much more to add to this discussion. I think most have been said. But just one quick note, I think the Indian side needs to, let's be mature. Please understand, we are a sovereign state. Bilateralism. Let's be bilateral. We are being bilateral. You be bilateral. And if we have bilateral conversation, if we accept each other as independent entities, sovereign states, I think it's very easy to solve our problems. Until we live in these delusions on either side, that the other side is of no consequence or is of no value or is not sovereign, then we'll never reach anywhere. The first question is, do you really want a peace process? If you want a peace process, we can have a peace process by dialogue, by diplomacy, by exchanging art and culture, by any means. But if we don't want, if we just want to have elections, if we don't just want to make noise, then let's keep on doing that. It's content on your side, it's TV content on our side. Let's have fun with it. Until next time, good night.